Hey, all you Arizona lovers. This is the Finding Arizona podcast. I'm your host, Jose.
And I'm your producer, Brittany.
And here at Finding Arizona Podcast, we collect the local stories of all entrepreneurs and from around the valley. So join us at findingarizonapodcast.com, where you can hear every episode and see it as well at
YouTube. Like, subscribe, and comment below who you want to see next on our show. And when you're ready to start your podcast, you found the right spot. Found House, your next podcast production company.
Now, let's get back to the show. Score big with SeatGeek. Whether it's concerts, sports, or live events, SeatGeek has you covered. Use code FindingArizona to get a fantastic $20 discount on your SeatGeek tickets. Catch your favorite live events hassle-free with extra savings. Visit SeatGeek.com and make every experience unforgettable. Welcome back, everybody, to the Finding Arizona podcast. I'm your host, Jose, and every week we bring in someone very special, and today is no different. Ladies and gentlemen, I would love to introduce to you my friend Triggafish Crossman. Thank you so much for coming in today. For those of you who don't know my friend here, he's a habitual headliner all around the valley. He's your comedy best friend. Just an overall great guy. And I'll let everyone in on a little secret. I met yours truly here at an event over at Thunderbird Lounge. We had a night together and it was fun. Like there was a cool event, which was comedy and trivia together. And I got to tag along with some of the other comedians that were there. And yours truly here was there. So please welcome Triggafish. What's up, man?
Not much, man. Just another Sunday. Hopefully my Knicks will.
Yes, that's right. We're going to get into this. Yes. Because I like to ask everyone, give me a little bit of your origin story. For those of you who don't know, you're a New York native. Like you came to Arizona from New York. So give us a little bit of that origin story. How did you come here? And then also, how does comedy play a part in that journey?
Okay. So I'm born in New York, and then I actually lived in DC, Maryland area.
Okay.
And I was in the Air Force. I was a medic. Mm-hmm. So I did most of my stuff. I did medical, and working in the ER. You definitely have to have a sense of humor, right?
Oh yeah.
A lot of stuff. And I would host open mics for bands and poetry and stuff like that. Never really wrote anything, but just kind of being in front of people was like nothing new for me. Yeah. And then I had an opportunity to move to Arizona. So that was like 2010 and came out here. I had no idea what I was going to do. I was just like, I'm just done with the East Coast. And came out here and maybe within the first couple months, a buddy of mine was like, yo, man, you're hilarious. Like you need to do an open mic or something. Right.
Nice.
And it was put up or shut up. It's like, you keep talking about it and you say you want to do comedy, and he got the opportunity. I think it was Jill Kimmel. She had a show over at Dos Gringos, the one on Priest and Priest and Elliott.
Yep.
Tempe.
Yep.
It's closed now, but that was where I cut my teeth, and then I was hooked,
Nice.
And so and then over the years, like I said, the nickname, I didn't get the Triggafish name till later on.
Yeah.
I didn't start with that,
Yeah.
Most people my name is Marcelino. So people call me Marcelino or Lino, and then the Triggafish name kind of happened somewhat organically, because everybody has a black guy always has to have a nickname
yeah.
Roy Catfish Jackson or
to make the legend that is that individual, you gotta have the unique kind of story-esque a name where it's Triggafish. It's gotta have that origin story of oh, you haven't heard about Triggafish?
Yeah, and you know what? Lucky for me, ain't too many Triggafishes out here. I was okay, but I took my son to actually an aquarium, the Odyssey.
Yeah.
Have you been to the Odyssey in Scottsdale?
Yes, we have been.
Okay, so we went there before they killed the dolphins.
Oh no. Go away. So we're gonna get a lot of this today, guys. Just so everyone knows, we're getting a lot of bits. A lot of bits.
Hey, I'm just saying that's just a fact. That's just
Yes,
a fact.
we're just talking pure, unadulterated facts over here. But yeah, you go on. You went to the aquarium. I'm
Yeah, pretty
assuming
much,
that the name comes from an experience that you had.
absolutely. So they had just opened up. I think it was 2016. Around this time, I was gonna take a step back from comedy because my son was about almost 2 years old at the
Okay.
time.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, you know what? I want to make sure that you can't get that time back.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm gonna step away from comedy, right? So I'm like, okay, took him to the aquarium. So it was me, my brother, he took his daughter, and it was someone else.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. But so we go through, and you know how that last, they have like the carousel.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
go through and you see the seals and you see all that stuff. And
For sure.
then when you leave out, they have like a couple of aquariums before you leave, right?
Yeah.
And I remember I'm talking to my brother, and then I just happened to look up, and my brother's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "You don't see that shit?" And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "You don't see that?" And he's like, "What?" And I walk closer, and then I was like, "Oh, Niger triggerfish." So I was like, "Oh, my bad." Like I was like, "Really, Scottsdale?" And then Niger.
There was about to be a story on the 6 o'clock news. It was a man just losing it in the Odyssey aquarium. It was like, y'all don't see the name that's posted on the fish tank.
Like the audacity. How dare you? My son is here. He can't read yet, but still. So
it's the best. That's awesome.
That happened, and then my brother and I, he's like, you know what? That would be a dope rap name, though, right? Like, and so it started as they call me. My brother would say "nigga triggerfish." Right?
Okay, yeah.
But the A, right?
Yeah.
So like, yo, nigga triggerfish, and then I would post like on Facebook as a joke, right? Like say, oh, this is nigga triggerfish with a PSA or something stupid, right?
Yes.
Just messing around.
Yeah.
What my white friends would say, I don't really feel comfortable calling you. Can I just call you Trigger or Triggerfish? And I'm like, that's not like what? No, that's not a real. And it just stuck. And I'm like, literally, everyone would say, and I'm just like, how the hell do y'all know that name? They're like, oh yeah, we know about you from such and such. And I did a show the end of that year. It was with Anwar Newton. What was it called? The Worst Show Ever or something like that.
Yeah.
They had that over at I can't remember the venue, but like it was a big deal. And that was the first time I ever got introduced as Triggafish.
That's awesome. I mean, but it's like, what a story though, because too, it's like, it's one part that it is such a bit that you can put into your own, use it throughout the years when you're starting comedy. But on top of that too, it's like, there's a certain level, and this is just me explaining the comedy here part of like, one part is the fact that's like, it's the word that you can't say that makes it the funny aspect of it. The fact that they came to you and was like, "Hey, look,
we compromised.
Let's meet halfway here. Let's, I like it, but I can't say it in the office per se."
And again, it started as a joke. It was never my intention to have that as my nickname. It was.
I totally get it. It's so funny though, but it's like it's such a way where it's like, let's say if you, I don't know, you look at another comedian where it's like Weird Al or something like that, where it's like, okay, well, why are you called that? And then you just have a really good bit, like a really good story that it kind of just explains it all. But I go into that saying that is genuinely a cool way of getting your stage name, essentially. And I want to go back, just rewind it a little bit, go back to the fact that we're talking about someone who is coming from a different mentality of life, going from the East Coast to the West Coast. I want to just kind of pinpoint that level right there and get your perspective of just with the West Coast in general, because I imagine, and this was me when I actually spent a time in my early years in on the East Coast as well, and Philadelphia, near that area, near the East Coast of Pennsylvania. I did not. I was basically a child, so it's like the West Coast or the desert was all basically that. It was like basically cartoons. Like that is what the desert is. All of the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote stuff. So when I came out here to Phoenix for the very first time to visit family, essentially, it was very unusual to me because it's totally different in the mindsets of how you walk, how you go about life, everything. And so I would love to get your perspective of like first time coming out here, of like the shock and the culture that you were like so used to, and now you're newly fresh here in Arizona, essentially.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been here 14 years now.
Yeah.
And I'll say this much because again, being in the Air Force, I had been to like Texas, I've been to Nebraska, I've been Pacific Northwest and like Washington State, and haven't really been to California that much. But yeah, when I came out here, I would just say that I didn't realize Arizona or Phoenix in general was a transplant state. I didn't realize that there were going to be more people not from Arizona than there were from Arizona. So I get it. That was the first thing, because I was like, man, I'm originally from New York, so East Coast, but I met a bunch of people from New York. I'm like, what y'all in the witness protection program or something? Like they just send everybody to Arizona. People, Detroit, Chicago. It's a cluster, of like people. And
the realization is like, oh, man, all those gangster movies where they're like witness protection, man, they're very serious about it. They throw you guys out here in the desert.
My Blue Heaven. That was Steve Martin. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, hey, man, I'm a student of comedy. But yeah, when I came out here, I'm so used to, because on the East Coast, people are more brutally honest.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not afraid to hurt your feelings.
Yeah.
Right. So if somebody says, hey, man, come to my party, or can I get your number? No, it's a hard no, not going. Right. They're not going to beat around the bush or try like, oh, maybe, there's no such thing as maybe.
Yep.
On the East Coast, it's yes.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Out here, and it just felt like people just wanted to be nice about being mean. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have a saying, because I say, it might not snow in Phoenix, but it's a lot of flakes.
Man, you hit it. So you're hitting it somewhat of like a topic that I'd love to like get into, especially with like people who are transplants. Again, that is something that comes up a lot with the brutality of like, but I also look at it as just the mentality of like your time in the East Coast is literally, it's a fast-paced life where people really do have the time is money mentality. And that kind of draws on the fact of like, yeah, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I probably won't go. Like, that's not mean, but it's just that the fact of the matter is I'm busy doing other stuff that is important to me. And your thing doesn't interest me. So it doesn't help me in any way. I'm not going to go. So it's like that. There are some things that I always love to like try and understand. And that is something that is so different from the West Coast, where it's like, yeah, the idea of like, yeah, maybe I'll go, maybe I won't go. I'm going to leave it up in the air.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm like, I'm still that little boy of like, yeah, I'm going to be brutally honest. I'm like, I probably won't go, or I probably will be there, or most likely I'm going to be there. It's like that. There are certain things that come up that'll happen, especially being a parent. But it's, for me, I tend to lean on like, yeah, I'm definitely going to be there, or definitely not going to go. So
like you already have it in your head. Like, okay.
In your gut, not even in my head, in my gut. Like as soon as someone brings up like a party or something, I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Like I'm just all about it.
Do I like you well enough to even?
It's the courtesy math of
Yeah.
like, yeah, how am I
How
friends enough?
far is
Is
it?
this person an acquaintance or it's a real friend? Like, you
It's
got
in
to do the math.
Avondale because I don't know if I want to drive to Avondale. That's
Yeah,
uh,
that's a little far. Yeah. And
gotta take all these things into consideration.
yeah.
So,
So now, I mean, you've been here a while too. So that's the
yeah.
other thing of your life and just growing into the city as it's now formed and shaped and like actually become a place where it wasn't always a comedy place where you could go and get your teeth cut here. You would
Yeah.
have to go to LA or other places like Chicago, just comedy places where there was culture for the comedy. I feel now as a person who's probably grown up here for the last 15 years or been a part of the city life, it's just really to me more spots have developed where you can go to Chandler, you can go to North Scottsdale, you can go to on the west side a little bit. I don't know too much, but I imagine there's a couple of spots that you can probably refer me to. But it's just overall, there's a new level of comedy here in the valley that is up and coming, but also there's a lot of really good veterans that are still here that are really it's fun to watch. So I think I would love to understand from your perspective, especially like doing the grind, what have you seen develop or grow from this culture, especially the fact that Phoenix in general is now it's a transplant. So there's not a lot of natives that are still here that are doing the comedy grind. But it's like I just want to know from a perspective of like how does that culture, that community develop in the years that you have been here?
So I started in 2011.
Okay.
Right? And then there were like a couple of small comedy clubs. They since closed. The comedy
Yeah.
spot, Stand Up Scottsdale.
Yeah.
Then it was Stand Up Live, Tempe Improv. That
Okay.
was pretty much like the hubs, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then over like the next decade, like House of Comedy opened
Mhm.
up. And now there's one CB Live or something like that.
Yeah.
That's up
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard about that one. Yeah.
way up north.
Yeah.
But and then you got JP's over in Gilbert. Like it was a boom, and then
Yeah.
next thing you know, because like a lot of people, if you go like LA and stuff like that, you don't really get it's hard to get time in the big places, right? Like, and if
Yeah.
you do, you
They're
get like maybe
meccas because they
2 minutes.
have the talent essentially there.
But here, there's so many mics and there's so many shows. Like literally,
Mhm.
you can do a show a night if you
Yeah.
so choose. Uh,
I would love to make this like not a docu series, but like it's kind of basically a follow along. I don't know if you've ever watched these kind of like YouTube clips where it's like you just basically follow your like day in the life sort of deal. But
right.
I'm like picturing in my head if you really wanted to show it, you would show them like, yeah, I'm sitting here from waiting for the 1 a.m. Slot if I get it essentially, and just like look through the city life through the lens of a comedian trying to like grind it out through the going up and down the 101 and the 202 and the 51 and all the different it just to me there's like b-roll of you driving north on the 101. I'm just
And
like
majority of that footage would be driving. Yeah.
yeah.
Just,
What's like I really enjoyed the comedian is in Cars with Jerry Seinfeld, and I was just like, well, how do you extend that? But just like essentially what they're doing between their shows, like it's like yeah, they leave the stage and then you just follow them, go right in the car, sit in the driver's seat, and just like maybe have a conversation. Like yeah, I like that last set, that was good, or it's like I'm preparing for this next one. I hope I do well, like that sort of stuff just gets me because. For me, the thing that makes me joyous or the things that I love about comedy is more about to do with like context where it's like, I just told my wife this saying because I heard it on some an interview. It was like, life is more of a tragedy if zoomed in, but a comedy at a zoomed out perspective. So it's just some sort of those types of things where it's like in the lens of you focusing on the pain on the outer scope, you can find the comedy and the joy on the outer bits if you look further away. So
Well,
those are the types of things that I
uh,
find humorous.
I feel like majority of the comedians, like there's some type of pain that you can
Mhm.
draw from,
Yeah.
and you have to laugh to
Yeah.
keep from, because I mean, you look at some of the greats, and then like Robin Williams, we
Yeah.
didn't know that he was balanced because he makes people laugh, and it's so easy for him,
Yeah.
and you don't know what their inner demons are. Like everybody has something that has driven them, or hey man, if I don't see it from this perspective, I'm gonna do something bad. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
absolutely.
You have to find the humor in life, even
Mhm.
when life serves you all types of crap.
Yeah.
And I think I've been that way since I was young. So when I did start comedy, nobody in my family was surprised. Let's
Yeah.
put it that way. So
Yeah.
because I've always been like kind of like the clown, just joking around. Like I would make serious moments funny
That's
for no
awesome.
reason, you know,
Yeah.
because I'd rather be laughing.
Yeah.
I'd rather be able to put a smile on somebody's face than to,
Oh,
you know,
absolutely. Yeah, there's a level. I think there's a level of joy that is again in those moments of pure dread that you have to be a special kind of person to do that wire walk. And I'm so intrigued by that level of like care and delicacy towards the craft that again I find comedy one of the truest like hardest things to do because of that level of wire work. It's a fine line to find joy and happiness in those dark moments. And it can really, especially nowadays too, it's like people are on edge more, hot, triggering is the word. And so for again, it's like I find it cool when people like you who come to me and share a little bit of who they are, where it's like you're a special dude, and I hope that you realize that because again, I know that we've had comedians come on the show before, and I always show appreciation by saying, look, I know it's a hard grind and there can be a real tough moments. I mean, you brought it up. It's like you almost quit at one point just because you wanted to do what was right for your son. And I respect that. But it's like I hope that there are individuals out here rooting for you. And you have family, but it's like other people outside of your core of like, yeah, man, you got the gift. So keep at it and keep grinding it out because I think you have a gift that you really are special in the fact that you can find those comedy joy parts.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
absolutely.
I mean, I stepped away, and then, but like when you have your calling, like I stepped
Yeah.
away, but I kept a toe in,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
once you kind of like start making a name for yourself, and then I still remember my best set ever was right after my grandmother had passed, right?
Yeah.
And it was in 2018, and then I had to do a show at Stand Up Live,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking, all right, I gotta get this. I got all these other emotions and feelings, and I went out and
Yeah.
I got a standing ovation and stand up, and I'm just like, all right, like you see that, grandma, like
Yeah.
you got
Yeah.
to take those moments, and
And you do it just right too, because it's like there's a level of like that the fuck it factor. I'll just call it that. It's like the worst shit has already happened to me.
right,
The fucking factor's already like I've already been through the tough stuff, like tragedy, hurt, pain, whatever. This is this is house money. Like I'm okay if
yeah,
they laugh at me or if they don't laugh at me. I've been through the hard stuff. This is cakewalk. And so for me, it's like when I see those moments and you tell me, like people tell me about them, because we've had a couple of them where it's like tragedy hurt so much, but I did so well in that vital moment where I needed to shine. I stood up, and those are the things that make me joyous because again, you don't get to hear that. You don't know what a person's going through. We just talked about this. So to
yeah,
hear that's like your best moment, like comedy, like your thing that you look back at, and it's like, hey, I had this great, like this is where I peak or something like that, where it's like I love this moment. it's attached to this other hard, devastating moment.
Yeah.
The balance of the two, it just makes up for this really great story of like who you are.
Yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, that's pretty much, like I said, you got to take the good with the bad.
Yeah.
I mean, because I mean, I'm still here. You
Yep.
know,
Yeah.
I was told, like, especially coming out of New York and then in D.C.
Mhm.
And Prince George's County in Maryland, uh, you weren't expected to be past 25 as a young black man, right? Like
Mm.
25, you might as well start turning in your Social Security,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
they didn't expect that. So for me to be here, and I've got a core group of friends that I went to school with. We look
Yeah.
back and I was like, dude, we've been friends for over 30 fucking years. Like,
Yeah.
how is that even possible? Like you don't think about long-term friendships when you're in freaking middle
Oh.
school,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
like you don't think about being a parent. You don't think about, oh, I'm gonna move across the country. I had no idea. I didn't have a plan. I
Yeah.
just kind of went
Kind
with
of
it, man.
happened. Yeah. It just
Yeah,
and
in the moment.
that's and yeah, and those are again, I look back at my own life and I look at I'm like, oh yeah, I was not ready for this or that, or just like overall this was this podcast, we share a similar story during COVID. Was told that we were going to have a little one, and those tight moments where it's like, okay, COVID's happening. I'm not really working. My wife at the time had just started a new job, so we were like, oh, we're going to be new parents. What it's this thing that's happening to the world. How are we going to raise him? How are we going to get him to survive this? What is going on and all this stuff that was weighing on me. And on top of it all, like this joyous thing that I've developed, whatever you want to call it, podcast or a business or whatever.
Mhm.
I had to look at it and say, okay, well, the commitment of fatherhood is already a commitment that is vital and it is number one now. Do I essentially try my best to fill in the in between moments with this podcast? And can I fill, give it your right amount of attention that I have been? And you just you take the first step, you take the first leap, you take the first open mic, you do what you got to do to make it work. And I did. I was like, I couldn't walk away. I had spent so many years developing who I was, developing my skill sets to make this website and all the social media that went along with it to make it what it is. And yeah, I was like, okay, well, I've already committed. I need to like see this through. And we changed some stuff. We pivoted. We're doing Zoom calls now and all this stuff. And so it worked out. But again, I was at a very scary moment of like, will this thing that I've worked so hard on go away? And
Right.
but when you ask yourself those questions in the moment, it's like when you're doing it, it's like, yeah, I love these conversations. I love this. I'm not going anywhere. I love doing this. No one can take this away from me. So I needed that. I needed those kind of like, moments of telling me you're doing the right thing, keep going, to kind of make sure that this is what it is even today. Like we're 10 years in, and I love it. I still love it. It's just a part of me.
Hey, when you do what you love, it's not considered work, right?
Yeah,
You do
absolutely.
what you love. And I
Yeah.
like the biggest cliche, but I remember hearing this over and over. Is like every journey has to start with that first step,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
you have to take that first step if you want to get to where you're going. You can't not do something and then get mad about it,
Yeah.
because a lot of
Yeah.
people, what they say, the worst thing in the world is wasted talent. Like
Yes.
if you're good at something and you have a skill set that most people don't,
Mm.
because I believe like public speaking is probably like the top three biggest phobias like
Hmm.
that people have. Just
Yeah.
and then to be a comedian is not just, oh, speaking in public. It's I'm speaking my mind. I'm
Mhm.
telling you my story, whatever story,
Yeah.
jokes, one-liners, stories, what have you. But you're basically opening up yourself to other people's, like judgment.
Yeah.
Like, hey, do
I'm
they
being
think
I'm being vulnerable. I'm
exactly.
allowing myself to open up, but I'm doing it in the hopes of a response. one that is joyous or controversial. So it's like it's again, I get it, I really do, and that's the thing that I find most intriguing about those individuals like yourself who will consider themselves really uh, lovers of the craft, like people who say it's like, yeah, it fuels me, like I get a kick out of it, I can't stop, and I will continue to try and do those events and mics and everything that goes along with it because it feels me. This podcast feels me. Like again, I get it. It does. It's not the same level, but I do get the feeling, and I do get the emotions behind it.
Well, yeah, and then it's just the love of the craft. Because I mean, I've been watching, stand up since like 4 or 5 years old.
Yeah.
I was a fan of Benny Hill. Like,
yes,
I watched Benny Hill shows, and I was like, and they're like, how old are you? Like, you're not supposed to be laughing at this shit.
Yeah.
And I still remember like most of the comics that I really like grew up wanting to emulate. Like your Dave Chappelle's, Eddie Murphy, Robin Harris, Bernie Mac. But like, even though they were making you laugh, you learned something too.
Yeah.
Right. It's like the best comics. They can give you education while you're laughing. You don't even realize you're learning some shit,
Yeah.
Like Chris Rock, he did that perfectly back in the 90s, right? Like he was like, oh man, I didn't know this, and he made it funny, but you got educated,
yes, absolutely.
A lot of the best ones, George Carlin, George Carlin, the guy way before his time, like
absolutely. There are certain things you could still pick up from his routine that it's like, man, how did he
years ago?
How did he know that?
He saw how the tides were changing, and he nailed it. But I mean, he laughed, but also
he got it. He
nailed it.
Yeah, it's like it's almost like it's super scary too. It's like how well he like predicted certain things, and it's just so crazy. That's like it was from the 70s, like some of his main stuff, 70s and 80s.
He adapted. So I read one of his books because he's got like a few of them, but I got one of his books probably before I moved out here. So in like the 2000s or whatever. And he said, initially he was inspired by what people would consider a hack comic. Somebody who just uses like easy jokes. And,
yeah.
And what was his name? Lenny something, whatever. But the point is he evolved because he went from, I want to do these jokes for everybody to I'm going to do this for myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
Once you stop trying to entertain the masses, and it's like, yo, how do I want to be revered? Do I want people to be like, oh, he'll do anything for a laugh, or he'll tell you the truth and make you laugh?
And sometimes that truth is the humor for one or two. It's like that. There's some comics that do it so well too, where it's like, you could literally hear it on their specials, or it's like one person that's like, ha, and it's just like, yep, got him. He's right there.
Oh man, those are the best moments, especially. I think I did a show like a year or so ago, and it was in a bar. And there's always that one guy who's like, he's just not gonna break. Like he's just staring at you intensely. Yes. And it just so happened to be this older white dude, kind of looked like Steve Wilkos.
Okay, yeah, I know who you're talking about.
And he's like glaring. He said the bar, and I can't remember which joke it was, but I said something about either Arizona or I was talking about baseline. And
okay,
I said some people pronounce it Vaseline. And then I was going on about it. And then if you see this guy break, like he went from like to, and I was like, got him. And I called him out on stage, and then he laughed even more because it's like, shit, he caught me.
Yeah,
like exactly. Man, they will do with anything to like, nope, I'm not going to give you the satisfaction.
So good, it's so good.
Get them, you got them, because then they won't stop laughing.
Yeah,
those are the best moments, like in comedy. Ask any comedian, like if you can get that one guy, stone face, or whoever, person. Let me be.
Let me hone in on this one dude in the crowd. Like, man, I'm going to break him more than anyone. Yeah, I get
everybody else. This ain't for you no more.
Yeah, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. This is a show for one.
This is catered to this mother right here.
I love it. Well, it's like so here's something that I want to get into is
Uh,
your style and just kind of your craftsmanship because I like talking about getting in the weeds sort of deal, and we've kind of danced around it, so to speak, where it's like things that intrigue us or things that inspire us. So I'd love to just kind of ask you about your writing process. Is it something of a handwrite process, or is there a way that you go about, maybe tracking and developing your jokes and comedy so that it is, something that you can refer to or go back to or kind of look up and kind of go through with the motions of like, okay, I'm going to do, because I've seen this where it's like some comedians have a set list of like, I know what I'm going to do for my hour. These are the beats and sort of deal. So can you kind of break down your own process?
sure. So I am inspired by greatness, right? It doesn't matter, doesn't have to be just comedy, like music,
Yeah.
arts, what have you. One of my favorite musicians is Jay-Z, a
Mhm.
rapper.
Yeah.
And he's infamously known for not writing down his lyrics, right?
Absolutely.
Um, I genuinely do like an outline,
Okay.
like I have points that
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
create, and then I'll
Structure.
do tags.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty loose with how I structure my joke because I
Okay.
never want to tell the same joke the same way each
Yes.
time.
Yes.
And repetition. So the more
Yes.
you tell jokes, the more I've experienced, and then sometimes I'll just add stuff in. Like I had this one joke where I didn't even think of the tagline until a lot later.
Okay.
Because I would talk about my son, right?
Yeah.
And my son was born on Martin Luther King's birthday,
Okay.
right? But my joke was, my favorite day, my favorite day ever was the day my son was born, right? And then it's like, well, okay, I'm on. That's my second favorite day. My favorite day is a week later when I found out he was mine, right? and, and I would tell that joke. I've been telling that joke for a while, right? And then I didn't put together because then I was like, you know what? The fact that my son was born on Martin Luther King's, holiday. I mean, obviously, I overcame, but I never thought of that tag, right? But again, you keep telling it, and eventually you'll be like, oh shit, why didn't I could have been saying that.
And it's the littlest things too, where it's like, it's those it's just that little extra. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer to get because it's that last squeeze of like pure comedy that you're trying to like squeeze out of it. And it's sometimes it comes to you easier than others where I'm just like, I am so like, there was a moment I was just thinking about this the other day where it was so easy enough for someone to be like, oh, hey, why don't you just focus on this? Like, just narrow your, like, hone in a little bit, niche it up. And I was like, oh, yeah, why wouldn't you? You have, and so it was easy for them to develop the concept. But for me, it was like looking at it through the lens of like, oh my God, you just solved my deepest, darkest memory secret. What the hell? So it's like, yeah, sometimes it's just as easy as like adding in an extra sentence or adding in an extra word or a tagline. Other times it's like, I can't figure it out. Why? There's more to
Yeah.
this. Like,
Like I said, I like for it to happen organically. I'd
yeah,
say a majority of my material is, my experiences and my, observations. I'm a people watcher.
yeah,
Sometimes I'll just go somewhere and like I don't want people to know I'm a comedian. I'll sit, at a bar or somewhere. I won't even introduce myself as that,
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah,
people tend to try to like when they find you a comedian, then they're like, "Oh, tell me if you think this is funny." Tell you this, like, "Hey, man, can I just chill?
yeah,
Can I
yeah.
just have a moment?" But
Yep,
being able
yep.
to see people in their element without them noticing me, and then I'd say 80% of the jokes that I tell are true. There's a
Nice.
little bit
Okay.
of got to throw little falsehoods in there every
Yeah,
now,
yeah, yeah.
but majority of what I'm talking about, I've experienced, or like
Nice.
it happened, so it's
Yeah.
easy to remember because I'm like, oh, all I gotta do is just remember this time.
Oh
And
yeah.
a lot of things kind of tie in. I like the good transition as far as like with jokes. Like I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm going to talk about sex and then I'm going to talk about kids. I'm gonna, like,
Yeah. It's, sometimes it's easier than others.
but like, I like to get a good transition,
Yeah.
so that it doesn't seem like I'm going far left field. Like, oh, wasn't he just talking about this? He's talking about politics. Now all of a sudden he's talking about this. Like,
Yeah.
And I don't do too many political jokes anyway because that shit's a shitstorm. I'll leave that to the smart people.
Yeah.
I'll leave that to the smart people that know, like I am just well informed enough.
Yep.
But I'm not gonna get on my platform and just I'm not gonna get on my soapbox, tell people how to think. This is wrong, this is right. But I can correct myself. Like I can.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I totally get it. I'm the same way. I was like, I'm just barely enough where I'm like, I'm comfortable knowing that I voted the way I did. It's like that's about it. Like I'm like I am fully enough capable of like, yeah, read the options, filled in the blanks. I'm good. I did my citizenship duty.
There you go. America, baby. I'm just still afraid to go out of the damn country.
Oh my God. Like, honestly, well, it's like it takes like 3 forms of ID to like get like out and back in. Like, you better make sure that everything is spelled the same way. Otherwise, you are in trouble.
You wake up in El Salvador, like, I don't even speak the language.
Yep. And they're just like, nope, can't come back in. Sorry.
I don't even know what time zone this is. This is mountain time.
I wanted to ask you this now because we got into a little bit of like the comedy of it all. What are some of the things that you're doing now? I know that you have a couple of shows that you've kind of like are taking part of as hosts. Would you give us some idea of like, is that something because you were so comfortable with it? Was that something that just transitioned really well into your purview of doing stuff around as you're working? Also, give us a little bit of highlights of like stuff that's coming up for you that you're excited to share.
Sure. So again, like I said, hosting was always natural for me. Right? Being in front of people, I don't get intimidated by big crowds.
Yeah.
And then there's a difference between being a host because you just want to keep the show going and make sure everybody's entertained. But it's about the comics, right?
Yes.
But when I do a set, I'm going all out. Like I've got my set up. Like I don't do a lot of crowd work. I got jokes. I'm trying to spit shit out. You know what I mean? I might ask a quick, do a quick survey, but that's about it. Like I don't base everything on, one person or whatever. So some comics are like that. So hosting really gives me an opportunity to not just entertain, people, but also to meet other comics, because a lot of comics out here, there's a lot of really good local comics. Like, for instance, I'm wearing her shirt now, Celia.
Nice.
She opened up for Roseanne a few years ago.
Cool.
And she was on Kill Tony.
Yeah.
Michael Longfellow. I used to do shows with him. And now he's on Saturday Night Live.
That's awesome.
And years ago.
Yeah.
On Saturday Night Live, I think the last 3 years. Or
I remember he's doing an interview and he was talking about Arizona. I was like, oh, that's cool. He's like, I never met him or like knew. Like, I'm still fairly new to like, again, different areas of Arizona, like different cultures. Meaning, like, I didn't know all the comedians. Like, I didn't know how big the comedians community was here. And so when I started taking on interviews from different comedians, you start to like, I got like different avenues of like, so we had someone in here who was missing an arm. So he was like talking about like what it's like to have people who are like missing limb comedians, like, or in wheelchairs and stuff like that. And I was like, oh wow, I didn't know it got that specific. Like, those types of people, like everyone's got their lanes of like things that they talk about. So you start to really understand of like, oh wow, there's so many people out here that are doing comedy, but in different ways. So for me, I was like, oh wow, this is so cool. So we also had other traveling, like people who were from Arizona, but like are now trying to figure it out in LA. Got a couple of those in. So it's like different modalities of like some people who are traveling, some people who are local that are staying local, and everything in between. So I'm like, I'm so fascinated by it all. And having someone who is more of a local who like really knows and really is someone who can express to me the culture that is going on right now. It's great to have you, man. It's always it's cool. It's like really helps me. I'm excited because again, you're a doorway, like you said, into other comedians who really need a need a voice, need a cheerleader, need someone who's gonna be like, hey, I see you.
Yeah, I'm happy to do it. And so next Sunday, I'll be at Pub Rock Live. So
Nice.
that's my show.
Okay.
That we have been kicking it around, and we finally got the approval to do it.
Nice.
So June 1st, that is the next show,
Okay.
and we got some really good like Jatuan Whedon. She's freaking hilarious. Like she's one of those up and comers. She's been doing
Nice.
probably about a year or two or something like that. She's
Okay.
fairly newer, but she is amazing to watch. So, and it's a free show. So, you know, you
Nice.
got nothing
Okay.
to lose.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I got my buddy Fred Whitty. He's been doing it almost as long as I have, about 14, 13 years, somewhere around there. Another guy, Tom Patterson,
Okay.
really funny guy. And then our headliner is Mark Anthony Ritchie. And
Nice.
he's been all around, you know, like these folks are people that I know.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah.
would never try, like, because my name is attached to it. So
Absolutely.
anything you put
Absolutely.
your name on, you want to make sure that you're giving them quality and quality. You know what
Exactly.
I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
and then the week after that, I'll be actually performing at Monkey Pants. So
Nice.
that's in Tempe. So all
Okay.
these in Tempe, and I think Pub Rock Live is in South Scottsdale,
Yeah.
like just where Tempe stops getting less dangerous and Scottsdale gets more dangerous.
Exactly. Where the two kiss each other. I just again I love this. This is again you're someone who feels like a true fan of being here, wanting to make it work here, and just again overall like really trying their best to grind some of these shows into comedy meccas. Like you bring up the one thing that you brought up was the Kill Tony show,
Mhm.
and I've watched and I think it's really great and it's developed into some. But it's like I want something like that here. Like I want someone to really sink their teeth into trying everything to make something cool, like a show like that where it's continuous. It shows really great names and kind of a mix, a diverse of culture of like great names, but also just giving people a shot to try something new. I just think it worked out really well as far as a show concept, but I know that there are just as equally smart and intriguing and developed individuals here, like yourself, who can make these shows come alive.
Well, in order to, you know, I mean, again, I like being local. I
Yeah.
like local.
Yeah.
Local works for me. All right.
Yes. Yes.
Um, that is, I'm like, I don't have aspirations of like becoming like nationally known or what have you. You know what I mean? Like, I live a candid life in secrecy. Right.
I love that.
I don't, everybody doesn't need to be in my business. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like,
Yes.
I don't need to be
Well, it's
on.
like it's the joy loss of like you can't even go do your people watching when every person knows your face and knows who you are. It's just like that joy of like what you used to do is like no longer there because your anonymity is gone.
Yeah. So like I like the local. And again, like the best part is because I have my nickname. So anytime I like apply for a job,
Mm,
they can't find me.
yeah,
They'll never know my social media
exactly.
because
Stage names are good for that reason. I unfortunately have this attached to every single bit of my government name, and I try my best to keep a smile on my face, like I'm doing good, guys. But you know, you do what you can. It's really it's like like I love this because one part of me is a podcaster of like yeah like you where it's like I like people watching, I like meeting new people and them not knowing about me, and we just kind of like are human to one another. sort of deal. So it's getting harder and harder because we were like, are you the guy who does the podcast? Or it's like, are you such and such from social media? I'm like, yeah, that's me.
You got me. You
You
got me.
got me. Yeah, it's like then I got to put on my professional hat on. But that being said, I do thank you for being on the show today. We are kind of concluding our conversation. It's been a lot of fun chatting you up. You're smart, intelligent, and already I didn't need to tell you funny. You already knew that, but I want you to know that you really do make a difference. I know comedy is not easy, and if you bring just as much joy to the people that you should do shows with as you do your son, for those of you who don't know, he has a son that he shows on his social media. That boy got a great smile, and that boy is a joyous, happy smile. Shows me it's like you're putting just as much work as a father as you are doing this job. So everything's going to be all right. You're in good hands.
Hey, you know what? He smiles like that because he doesn't know how cruel the world is yet. You can
Yep.
I can shield him so much,
Yes, I
and
understand that.
you got to prepare him for, I'm like, he's a good kid. He's got his moments, but he's a good
Yeah.
kid.
Yeah. Same. I'll be the first to admit he's got his moments. There are moments where I'm like, but he's a good, like mine is the same way. And I'm hoping that we can continue that momentum of like goodness into,
Yeah.
adolescence, teenage years, and then into adulthood, and just keep him grounded, level-headed, and fun, just lighthearted individual. And he'll go off and
It goes
he'll
by
do.
so fast, man.
Yes,
Like
dude.
I'm telling you, I'm new old. Like people are like, oh, you're not old. I'm like, dude, I'm 45. Like, trust me. When I was 12, 45 was ancient, right?
Dude,
I'm like,
I had a 51. I just did a podcast with a male individual who was 51. He told me, and he was like giving me so much insight into his now like almost empty nester life. And I'm like, oh my God. And he's like, yeah. And that only happened when he's like, it only took like 5 to 10 years for then me to be like in my 50s. And I'm like, oh man, it's coming fast. It's barreling right into me. And I every piece of advice, you or anyone else, I will take 100% because I really don't want it to come full circle where later down the road I'm like, oh, I wish I would have, or we didn't get a chance to do whatever. Those are the types of things where I'm like, I know that I'm doing the right thing because I don't miss there are so many concrete memories in my brain where I'm like, man, I still remember when he fit like right here. I still remember him walking for the first time. I still remember like all of these things where I'm like, yeah, it's
next thing they're graduating high school and you're like, holy shit, where did the time go?
Yeah. Or you're like me where it's like, I know a couple of these kids now that are graduating and I'm like, oh my God, I cannot believe it's been that long. I knew you when you were like 5 or 3. And it is, time goes by fast, but I know that in those moments in between where we're looking back like, man, I can't believe we did this. I know I try my best in the moment to like appreciate, show some level of like in the moment mood of like, I will never forget this. I will never take this for light heart. And that's how I want to live it. I want to make sure that I'm here for him and he knows it so that he's not like, oh, I wish dad would have blah, blah, blah. I want him to be like, yeah, no, dad was great. He lived great. So this is the end. This is the part where I kick it to you to let everyone know where they can find you online. This is your promotional stance right here, Trigga. Take it away. The floor is yours.
All right, sweet deal. So you can find me on Instagram, Triggafish Crossman. It's Trigga. We don't use the hard ER.
No ER here.
No hard ER.
I'm just thinking in my head of like the lower third where it's like where it like either drops it or like erases the ER.
But yeah, like I said, Pub Rock Live. So we do a show there every other Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So we're off this Sunday.
Yes.
and then we'll be back June 1st. And then the following weekend is June 8th. I'll be at Monkey Pants, but also I'll be performing at Fan Fusion.
Oh, awesome.
That just popped up. Like, how did I forget that? So, that's kind of like the Comic-Con.
Yes, for here.
In Phoenix. Yeah. So I'll be performing there Saturday night.
Damn.
Yeah, so that'll be at 7:30. So if you happen to go to Fan Fusion, you might run into me because I'm going to probably bring my son early. I'm not going to bring him to the show. The show's adults only.
He'll love being on the floor. He'll love seeing everyone. It's, again, if he's even a little bit into comics or anything.
This guy dressed up as Waluigi. And I didn't even know there was a Waluigi. That's how out of touch I am now. I was like, okay, I know about Wario.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Like, that is so uninspired. Like,
when you like can't understand like half or 3/4 of the character, you nod and you smile. This is fun, son. I
promised myself I wasn't gonna get old. I lied to myself. Because like I remember playing video games was like such a main part of my life, and now I'm like I use my PS4 to watch TV.
and then your kid is like, damn, Dad, you're old, you're washed. Yeah, it's fine. I'm okay with being that dad, but I just hope that I just hope he's way smarter than me. I'm like, I was doing dumb shit when I was his age. I was doing dumb, stupid, could have lost a finger stuff.
But you're still here.
Yeah, right? Still here. Yeah.
Life experience. That's just called experience. And
yes, exactly.
So when my son said stuff, and I'm like, dude, I did that already. Like you're not reinventing the wheel.
Exactly. You're not fooling me because I've already fooled myself. All right, Trey. I love, again, I'll just say it. You have the confidence, you have the poise, you have everything to be the great comedian that you are. And on top of that, if you wanted to be a TV host or a podcast host, you have it. You've got it. You'll be all right, man. You stay in that lane, you will be okay. So that being said, we do have an outro for ourselves. You can hear every episode of our podcast at findingarizonapodcast.com. Social media wise, Finding Arizona Podcast under everything. And last but not least, we end all of our conversations with a kisses, hugs, belly rubs to our four-legged friends. And we're going to end this sucker off with a go Knicks. Come on, let's go.
Let's go Knicks. Please.
Go Knicks. Let's go.
Take it easy.